Welcome back to the new season of D-Town TV, the free show for DSLR shooters. My name is RC, and I'm here with the incomparable.
I'm Larry Becker, and you know what? It's good to be back. You know, well, we just got back from Photoshop World. It is my favorite time of the year, that and the Christmas holiday season, because we meet so many of our NAP members and friends and fans, and we get to take great classes and hang around with cool
It's
people.
one of those things where it's just very, very high energy. So if our eyes look a little puffy and we look a little tired, it's because of the Photoshop World thing. So now, before we start off, we do want to talk a little bit about lights, and we do want to talk about a little bit about the cookie incident with this camera. But I won't get into that just yet. I know that you have a tip on using speed lights.
On speed lights. You know, at the end of last season, RC mentioned, hey, for the comments on the show right below, tell us what you want to see more of. Tell us the kinds of things you care about more. And we heard lots of positive feedback about all kinds of things. I saw a lot of comments requesting information about speed lights, so I'm going to tell you about that. And then one of the other things is you guys absolutely love when we have guests on. So we're going to try and pack more people in. We're going to bring more people in because we have all kinds of people coming in the office. And I was talking with Matt just yesterday, and he said that D-Town is going to start to evolve and get more people through and on the air. So look for that this season. As people are available, we'll bring them on the set. I want to tell you about speed lights, though. And these are just basic things. So if you haven't been a Cheap Shots follower, I want to show you something that I carry in my speed light bag all the time. This little cutout, and this kind of evolved over time, is a diffusion thing that I came up with out of a report cover folder that I got from FedEx Kinko's. I always have a speed strap on here of some kind, and then I just tuck this in if I ever need a diffuser. But there are a couple things that I want to make sure that you absolutely know about speed lights, because when people very first start getting into using speed lights, the first thing you do is you put it on the camera, and you start using it there, and the camera controls all the functionality. So like if you zoom with your lens, then the speed light actually has a zoom capability in it, and so it's going to zoom for you. But as soon as you take this off, because that's the very first thing we tell you, do as much as you can to take your speed light off of your camera and point it in different places and use diffusers and add light modifiers. That's going to help you, and we'll talk about that more throughout the season. But I wanted to make sure you knew about a few different things. First of all, almost any speed light, and this is a base model speed light from Nikon. It's an SB600. They make a 700. They made an 800, discontinued now, and an SB900. Plus there's aftermarket speed lights. There's speed lights for the Canon line, but they all have the ability to zoom. And this one runs in a zoom range from 24 millimeter lens on out to an 85 millimeter lens. And so that allows you to either spread or focus the light without adding any light modifiers. It's actually there for you. So pay attention to the zoom function. I'm not going to show you where it is because it's different on each speed light, but pay attention to the zoom function so that you're zooming appropriately for how far away your light is from your subject. And the other thing, this is the coolest little thing, and it's inside almost every single speed light, and it will spread the light even further. It's a little diamond diffusion spreader, and that'll spread the light even more than the 24 millimeter. So if I've got something that I really want a wide spread, I can add this to it. And then there's aftermarket modifiers, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later.
And there's two things that I think that are very, very tippy here that I think that are important. One of the things that you're going to notice is if you're looking at the back of your lens, and if you're looking at the back of the speed light, and you see that your speed light is at the widest possible zoom,
right,
and you're trying to change it and trying to change and it won't zoom, there's a 99% chance that this guy's on. If he's on, this automatically goes to the widest possible spread. So that's one tip that you want to be able to keep in mind. The other one is this. If you want to be able to practice with some of this stuff, take a look at a mag light. If you have a mag light or a regular light, any kind of flashlight that has a focusing thing, that's the best way for you to be able to understand the concept of zoom. Right, if you grab that mag light and you turn it, you'll notice that the beam goes from very, very wide to very, very narrow. And that focus beam is a little bit more powerful than the spread out beam. That's exactly what's happening with the zoom thing.
Right.
So when you need that kind of control, that's a great tip. That's absolutely something that you want to make sure that you keep in mind.
Yeah, and also the more high-end a flash you get, the more zoom control you have and different lighting patterns and stuff like that. We could go on forever, but we can't actually because we got to toss to a break. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, my name's Dave Black. We're working with sports action using speed lights. We started out track and field with a sprinter coming out of the starting blocks. Then we got some great feature shots of baseball from a variety of angles. Had beautiful twilight sky behind him, and then we'd like re-illuminate him with a speed light setup. We moved on to faster action with motocross, where we had 3 great professional motocross riders for us on a super course. We used a combination of cross light with the sunshine and then the speed lights coming in to make a real dynamic look. It's exciting. You'll learn a lot. So come to KelbyTraining.com and watch my sports action with speedlights video. We'll see you there.
Hey everybody, welcome back. And you know, we wouldn't be able to say that if we didn't have a sponsor, and the sponsor is Kelby Training. RC has a bunch of classes there on all kinds of different topics. I've got a couple classes there, one on Photoshop and a couple on Photoshop Elements. I just put up Photoshop Elements for photographers. But there's a really cool one we just posted. Mine aren't really cool. There's a really cool one we just posted from Dave Black. He's that famous sports shooter. And you know, I showed you one speed light. He racks up 8 on a single mount so that he can really throw flash far. That's hard to say. Throw flash far for sports shooting. And the guy is just incredible.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things where when you start playing with flash, you start noticing how versatile small flash can actually be. Like, probably the first thing that you're going to think to yourself is, well, why would you put 8 flashes together? But the fact that you can gang them all up together to be able to do something in one instance, then take them all apart and put them in 8 different places to be able to light something, is something that offers a lot of versatility. And if you want to master versatility, you got to take a look at the Dave Black class. He does some phenomenal work over at Kelby Training.
Great stuff, great stuff. Now, last season, RC had a cookie incident.
Yes, the cookie incident. So, now, in case you guys didn't notice, that actually was taken over multiple takes, and we were actually very careful about putting the cookie crumbs. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think that there's a person out there that hasn't seen this stuff and hasn't gone, oh man, look at my pictures. It looks like I ate lunch on my camera sensor. Oh, there you go. Now I ate cookies on a camera sensor. But at one point or another, what's going to happen is you're going to need to start taking a look at the concept of cleaning it. Now, a couple of different products here that I wanted to be able to talk to you about, and things that I've kind of matured out of. Right. So here's the first thing. So I have my strap. Right. You're probably wondering what it is. It's called an up strap. This has got a big rubber plate on this. The reason that I have this is so that when I'm out shooting, this rubber plate makes it almost impossible for this thing to slide. There isn't a time that you don't turn around and do this. And if you have one of those regular straps, it just goes whoop, and the camera comes crashing down. So the up strap helps. Now, when I'm done with it and I don't want to use it, I just take these 2 pins off. I'm good to go. Now, what do we like to use for lens cleaning? Visible dust. But what we can do with this is there's certain things that you need to be able to make things work. The first thing is the Arctic Butterfly. Now, this is a brush that you can use. I'm just going to go ahead and show this to you. I'll make sure that I slow this down. But this brush right here allows you to be able to spin. I'll go ahead and spin it here.
Now, why do you need to spin a brush, RC?
Basically, it charges it. When it charges the brush, what that does is it allows you to be able to lift off any of the dust particles that you have on the sensor.
So it adds static electricity by doing that.
Exactly.
Very cool.
And then there's also a light to be able to do that. However, the big problem that you run into with all of that stuff is this is essential, absolutely essential. The problem that you have is you don't really know what kind of stuff you have on your lens. So
Cookie crumbs could be there.
usually I'll take the lens off. When I have this, I'll go into my menu here, and there's going to be an option. Every camera has it, so I don't necessarily want to just show you go here, go here, go here. Every camera has a lockup mirror for cleaning option, raise mirror. Once you do this, I'm going to hit OK. And what will happen is when this shutter release is pressed, now, if we can go ahead and try to zoom in here, you'll see that's the sensor. So that's the beautiful sensor that we want to work with. It's impossible for you to be able to see anything that's there. So what Visible Dust does is they have this thing called a loop. This loop has a series of lights and a magnifier on top of it. And what that does is you can go ahead and grab this loop, put this on top of this and turn the light on. Now, it's actually, here, look, just as a testament, it's actually not bad.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's pretty good. I did a pretty good job cleaning it. Now, more often than not, when you first start off out of the gate, any kind of specks or dust or crumbs and things like that,
Crumbs.
you'll need a blower. This is one of those things that you get air that comes out of an opposite way, so it's a specific type of blower brush that you need. I usually put this up.
Yeah,
Right.
and when I was showing this one season, I had it pointed the other way. You really need to point your camera facing down so that any air that goes in blows the dust back out and
So
down.
I usually, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll take this, I'll blow it for the sensor, then I'll hit the button again, close it, close the mirror,
Clean off the mirror.
clean off the mirror a little bit, and then go back and take a look at it with this. See how you did. Now, this is where these things, blower, loop, Arctic butterfly, 3 things that you need. However, there's a couple of different things that'll make it worse, right? If you have an actual spot on a sensor, or if you have something that's like water-based and things like that, that's when you start getting into more advanced type of cleaning, right? There's a series of different substances. These are usually separate, that you need to be able to purchase. And each substance has a different characteristic, right? One of these is based on if it's oil-based or if it's smear-based. One of them is if it's water-based. One of them deals with this, which a lot of people don't know, which is right around the ring of this, in this one area, there's a lot of filings. As you turn it back and forth and all that stuff, you'll get some metal shavings in there.
Right.
So what you'll need to do to be able to clean this, I saw that going bad. So they'll sell you a series of different Q-tips. I'm just gonna go ahead and dig in here until I actually find my Q-tips, and oh, there they are. So here's a series of Q-tips. So you take these tips, and what you do is you use them. Oh, there we go. You have these tips, you break one out, and then you can use that to be able to clean the ends around that chamber. And there's one of these that's a chamber clean. And lastly, this is your weapon of last resort. What this does is it's basically sterilized, right? So it's packed, it's all nice. And what you do is you take drops of whatever it is of your specific type that you need, you put it on this, you go to the lens, you wipe.
One direction.
And now these are specific to sensor types because you just want to wipe in one direction. You don't want to do this.
Right.
And once you've used it once, dry, get everything all set up, take a look at it again. If it's still dirty, you use the second one. Don't go back to this one because whatever schmutz was on it is on this one. So use the second one. So this is something that you would use in the events of last resort, and it's actually not that bad. Moose Peterson's got a great website for us to be able to take a look at the lens cleaning. Lori Excel does cleaning on Kelby Training. So there's a couple of other different resources if you want to see it from start to finish. The last tip that I will give you about all of this stuff is when you're changing your lens, the best way for you to be able to minimize, not eliminate, but minimize the amount of schmutz that you get on it is something as simple as this. Never change your lens like this. Never change your lens in a dust storm. And when you're going to do it, I almost always like to just change my lens down. So I'll take the lens out, I'll put the lens back in, and you're good to go. So those are a couple of different things and an overview of how to be able to play with this. Make sure
That's
you take a
great
look at the
stuff.
Visible Dust website.
Yep.
We'll go ahead and we'll put it up in the show notes so that you can order this, because this is something that I think that's very, very important when you're working with something. If you don't want to send your camera to a camera company and expect 3 weeks or take it to a camera store and wait all this time, and you need to get your stuff cleaned, it's not that hard. It's a little bit of an investment, but it's going to go a long, long way.
Yeah, and pay attention to that training because you want to make sure that you don't miss any steps and do exactly what you need to do the right way. Make sure it's in a dust-free environment when you're doing this, obviously. And I use the Visible Dust Indirect system. It's called Brad. I give Brad my camera and I go, hey, can you clean this sensor?
Brad, help.
Yeah.
But hey, now speaking of visible dust,
Yeah.
and speaking about getting visible dust, Take a look at this. Hey everybody, RC here from D-Town TV, and I'm here with Jeff Snyder from Adorama. Jeff, what's going on, man?
Pleasure to see you.
Hey, it's always good to see you. It's always good to see you. So, if you guys have watched the episode 4, sensor cleaning, and you've talked a little bit about why would I ever let a whole bunch of Lorna Doone cookies inside my sensor, then you're probably familiar with the fact that yes, we can clean the sensors and we do all of that stuff. But I thought this was really, really cool, and I'm very, very grateful for you to be able to put this together, because there's a lot of different types of components that you deal with when you're dealing with sensors, right? So you deal with your loop, right? We talked about the loop. And so this is the jobby that you put on top of the camera, if you haven't watched the episode. This is the brush, the visible dust, this
Arctic butterfly.
Arctic butterfly, right? So this turns around and spins around and takes care of all of the stuff that's going to be on there. There's a battery and a thing.
Don't fly away.
Yeah, be careful there. All right, so there's this part right here, and then there's this part right here that allows you to be able to blow that. And we talked about that on the show. But I got to give you credit. One of the things that Jeff is here for is he wants to be able to talk to us about discounts and specials. And one of the things that he did that was really, really cool is that they've put this together for a D-Town kit. Tell me a little bit about the D-Town kit.
D-Town kit's going to be the sensor loop, the Arctic butterfly, and the Xeon blower. That'll come together. And you're also going to need, probably, the sensor brush and the smear away solution, which are sold separately because the sensor brushes are size dependent on the sensor size of your camera. In other words, a full frame camera needs a larger brush than, say, a Nikon D300 or a 7D Canon. You need a little bit smaller brush for that.
So these things are specific to the sensors.
Yes.
This is specific to your problem.
Yes.
But the basic kit for everything, the D-Town kit, is going to be these 3 pieces. Take a look at the lower third that we have right here. If you're interested in getting something that's going to get rid of all of the dust that you have on your sensor, it's going to be a good idea for you to be able to get this. And a special thanks to our folks at Adorama for being able to make that possible. So thanks so
My
much,
pleasure.
man.
Thank
I'll
you.
see you guys soon. How cool is that?
Yeah,
Folks at Visible
very
Dust and
cool.
Adorama putting together a little packet for us. So now you can go to Adorama and order the D-Town Visible Dust Kit.
I like
Very
it.
cool. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we get a website, we get a contest. Stick around.
Have you ever seen a close-up photograph and thought, wow, I wonder how they made that? Wait till you see what we're going to photograph in my new close-up classes. We're going to photograph dropping strawberries into water and freezing them, taking pictures of rocks, flowers, colored pencils, all kinds of great things, and we're going to make them look big like this.
And in the class, we're going to photograph all this stuff here. Look at this. Please come join me at kelbytraining.com. We're going to have a blast.
Welcome back to D-Town TV, the free show for DSLR shooters, RC, and Mr. Harry Becker. Now, photography site to be able to take a look at.
Yeah, I've got a really cool photography site. Now, as you know, normally what we do at the end of each show is we say, hey, go check out this photographer. They've got some inspirational images. I'm going to tell you to check out a photographer who's got a really great article on not being too cheap for yourself in pricing your work. You know, people come to you all the time and they're going to go, we don't have the biggest photography budget and things like that. So this guy, Tony Sleep, he's a UK photographer, and he wrote kind of an edgy, attitude-filled post on his website. And we'll put a link in the show notes so that you can access it. But it's a pretty strongly worded, but I think a very valuable lesson, and that is, don't sell yourself short, and don't let people come and ask you for free photos. You're a photographer, get paid for your work. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, did you ever see the Mike Montero video?
I don't know. Is that the
All
one in the restaurant?
No. F you pay me.
No, I hadn't seen
All
it.
right. This is what you're gonna do. I'm only gonna say the F. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. But if you want to be able to do something really, really cool, and it's along the same lines, I tell people, I'm like, oh my God, did you watch the F you pay me video? And they're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
But you know what? Take a look at this. We'll put it in the show notes again. That's a link to another YouTube conversation. And it's a guy who's, I think he's one of the heads of Mule Design. And he had this conference in San Francisco where he talked to a whole bunch of graphic designers, but he talked about the benefits of having a lawyer, working with a lawyer, and working with payment. And all the different permutations about getting paid when you're doing work. So that's I just thought of it when you said that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, you guys got to see this guy. It's a great, great, great video to be able to show you.
And unfortunately, this is a topic that's been around for a while. I wrote about it back in June of '09. I got a whole blog post and a separate video still. I said it was the restaurant one. So we'll put all that in the show notes for you guys to get access to. And it is time for us to give some really cool stuff away. We've been talking about speed lights in this episode. So I want to give away some really cool speed light related stuff. Adorama gave us a little gift card. I think this is $10 or so. But you know the guys at Rogue.
Yep.
We love the guys at Rogue.
we do
They got
love
all
the guys
kinds
at
of cool
Rogue.
stuff. RC, you talked about this last season. It's a grid so that you can focus your light very precisely, your speed light, and it's got multiple pieces to it so that you can change the focus.
And if you want to see the demo on that, we'll go ahead and we'll put that also in the show notes.
Very
so
cool.
that you can do, because we actually took it apart and
Right.
put it together and all of that kind of stuff. So great, great, great piece of gear. But this is the part that I think is really
yeah,
cool.
that's an add-on gel kit. So you now can gel your lights and get exactly the color mix that you want for the environment that you're shooting. And then this, I love this thing. This is really cool because you can bend it, and it is, well, it's called the flash bender, but it's a reflector that you can kind of shape however you want. You can turn it into a flag. You can actually have it reflect and bounce. It works really well. Very cool thing to have in your camera bag. So we're giving all that away to one individual.
Now, all you need to be able to do is go to thekelbytv.com/DTownTV. Leave us a comment, any comment. But this is the comment that I'd like to be able to hear. I want you to tell me, do you clean your sensor? Do you not clean your sensor? Or do you have somebody else clean your sensor? Right? Because I think that kind of stuff is very, very important. So we talked about sensor cleaning. I want to know what you guys are doing. Make sure you leave us a comment there. You'll be able to get all this bounty for free.
Very cool stuff. So leave your comments there on D-Town TV, and you can talk about sensors, or you can tell us what you want to see on the show.
That's right.
And you can also follow RC at AboutRC over on Twitter.
And you're Becker Biz.
Becker Biz on
Right.
Twitter, yep.
So follow us there. Tell us your comments. We'd love to be able to hear it. Thank you so much for stopping by. We're going to see you guys next week.
We have a great season planned. Come on back.
Take care.